I don't know what, oh, wrong view. Hello, hello, gorgeous people. Hello, gorgeous faces. It's so nice to see you all tonight. It's so nice to be among friends. And our guest tonight, I like to count as one of my friends. Lauri's one of the first people I've met. I don't know, it doesn't seem like that long ago time-wise, but it feels like I've known you since kindergarten. But Lauri's in a couple of groups that I'm in. She's very, very quiet. She likes to hang out on the sidelines and go, oh, me, I've done a few books. And then you find out she's been like narrating since 1980 and everyone knows her. And she's like, you know, a staple veteran of the industry. So I recently, a few times I've talked to Lauri and she's come up with some gems of advice. And I thought, we've got to share this stuff. This stuff is too good. So we're going to have a nice long chat. You guys remember, quirky questions only. Type question beforehand, please, 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 and put them on throughout the call. And then I'll ask Lauri towards the end of the call. So, Lauri, 10-year-old Lauri, what were her dreams and ambitions and favorite hobbies and things that pissed her off?
Um, 10-year-old Lori was on a Kansas wheat farm and she was doing circles on a tractor
You mentioned that. I don't really understand. Why would you go around in circles?
because if you plow, you go around in circles in the field and you go around and around and around. Same way if you're cutting or you're anything you're doing in the field. You go so yeah. I did lots of circles on very slow at like 3 miles an hour.
Did you want to? Like, was it fun or was it like your parents
Well,
made you and you hated it and wanted to move to the big city as soon as you got old enough?
Well, I started out in Kansas City, and so by the time I was 10, it was my second year on the farm. So I learned a lot of things there. I really wish kids could actually spend more time on farms and in the country because
Like
there's
actual
so,
work ethic?
yeah,
Yeah.
and you just get comfortable not being entertained. And so, but yeah, the what I it was all new to me at 10. And then I remember my dad used to always, he would come in and he'd say, hey, I need your help. And I knew that as soon as he did that, it was going to have something to do with me putting my small little hands in something greasy or oily or icky. And, but that was another thing. I learned to get dirty and I learned the power of soap. So, so
Do you
yeah.
think it formed you as a person? I mean, it had to have, huh? That kind of childhood.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. I think probably one of the greatest blessings of my life is that my mom married a farmer,
Hmm.
and I was like Beverly Hills in reverse. We went from all that to nothing. So I remember,
What did you think about your future when you were living like that? Were you
uh,
thinking about your future or were you just thinking about it every day?
at 10, I was just thinking about every day because everything was new.
Yeah,
I went to a
yeah.
very, very small school, and then I went to a bigger, very, very small school. Um,
I'm
and
curious about that. When you're in a really small school like that, does it make the whole pecking order, clique, um, bully, not bully, cheerleader, not cheer, does it make that worse and more pronounced because everyone knows everyone, or does it make it less because people grew up together and they're friends?
um, I think yes and yes. Um, I think that for me, I was the outsider. I mean, I wasn't from around there. I wasn't related to anybody. And my mom was not particularly popular at the time. So,
Because she was a stranger.
kind of, yeah,
That floozy that came in and took one of our good farm men.
right. That's exactly it. And but I found that cliques were, well, you have no place to go. If you don't belong to the clique or the other clique, you really have no place to go. And that's the bad thing about it. There's no way to get lost. The good thing about it is any kind of bullying is really obvious, because,
Yeah.
there's just no other people to hide in between. So, and like I said, and I had too much to do. If by the time I would get into trouble, my dad would be like, I got stuff for you to do. You don't need to worry about that crap. I got stuff for you to do. And it usually involved grease.
I
So,
love that. I love that so you had really good training in not being in your head.
or I
Like,
had training to be nothing but in my head.
but if you're physically active and trying to accomplish things and working hard, you don't have time to like think about, oh, poor me, and does my butt look big in these jeans?
Oh, yeah, the cows don't care.
Exactly. I think I've just given away a major part of my childhood, but yeah,
Right.
exactly. It's like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? That what a free childhood that is.
Mm, I don't know. I don't think you get away from that. But yeah, once you're on a tractor or out in the middle of nowhere, I mean, who's there to impress? So
Yeah. Oh,
you do tell
wow.
yourself a lot of stories. And I
Yeah.
actually could read a book while going in circles. I was moving that slow. And so I read a lot of books.
Not sure if health and safety would let you get away with that these days.
They would because they don't care about farming. They don't care about the
That's so
small mom and
sad.
pop farmer.
That's
I
so
know it is sad.
sad.
It
And the
is.
funny part is living in the UK, I've developed this like um idyllic image of like home because I never saw it because I'm from California. So I don't know hometown America. I only know what, Andy Griffith. And when I meet people that have like lived on farms, they can tell me about it. So I've got this image of apple pie on porches with fans and lemonade. Do you have a
Lots of fans.
porch? Yeah, but because you're in Texas now, but are you
Mm-mm,
still on a farm or is it?
mm-mm. No, I'm
Okay.
in San Antonio.
So you're back to being a city girl.
And the funny thing about San Antonio is it really doesn't feel as big as it is, but it's really big. So my
Yeah.
mom comes down and my dad comes down and he's like, "This is too big a city. It doesn't feel that big."
I
So
love that. Okay, so a love of books, a love of learning, a good strong foundation. Where'd you go from there? College?
uh,
Rough
I did.
transition? Easy?
Um, Actually, I was an exchange student right out of college.
Where?
So
Where'd you go?
Australia.
Oh, cool.
Yes, yes.
Can you do
I
the
have some.
accent?
Sorry.
Can you do the accent?
Well,
It's
no.
the hardest one, isn't it?
Actually, it's just you kind of have to think like them, I think. I think that's really the key to any accent is to really think the way they think. And the funny thing is, I was in Australia and they would complain that I didn't have much of an accent. And it's one of those things I pick it up while I'm in it, and when I'm out of it, I lose it. So I don't,
Perfect audiobook
I say I can't do
narrator.
the, I say I can't do the accent, but when I was there, they were like, I was kind of a letdown.
So did you like, how long were you in Australia?
A year.
And did you fall madly in love while you were there?
No.
See, okay, I'm giving away way too much of my past. I used to fall madly in love everywhere I went. Every single part of my life, I can connect to whatever guy I was in love with.
Oh.
So did you just like hang out with friends, make good friends for life, and learn a lot, and then decide to move back? Or what were you doing? What were you studying when you were there?
Well, I was an exchange student, so basically it was a high school exchange. but I was already done with high school when I went
Okay.
over there. Matter of
Okay.
fact, I did 2 years. I did a whole year, both semesters of high school and a semester of college before I went.
Okay.
So it was, I mean, it was nice because I didn't have to worry about what grades I got or, um, how late I stayed out or how well I did. I really got to just enjoy it. And it was amazing. And I got to go to a
Okay.
private school, and that was so amazing.
Okay. I want to get to the part where, okay, so our heroine Lauri is out in the world. She's tackling things in a rational, practical way. I want to get to the part where you get into trouble, or like,
Mm.
the plot twist. So when does life throw you a curve? When do you learn your big lessons? When do you take that path that leads you to being the Lauri you are now? When does the really exciting bit happen? When do you have like the
Um,
dark, sleepless nights of the soul or something juicy
when
stuff?
am I interesting? Um,
No, it is interesting. It is, but we were talking, Aaron Moon and I were talking about this on the other call. It is interesting. The good, idyllic life is interesting. It's like, work hard, look at that's good stuff. And then what I love is finding out when the person comes, because we all have something,
mm,
when the
mm.
person encounters their something, how they react and how that, because that's what leads them to where they are now, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I
So what
think
was your
my
something?
I think my biggest something is probably when I had to quit my job. I
What
was
was your
I
job?
I did years and years with regulatory control of one flavor or another, whether it's environmental or oil and gas or whatever. It was all regulatory, and I got really good at trying to make OSHA regulations sound interesting. You're going to love this meeting on health and safety. You're going to love it. It's going to be great. It was never great, but and that just goes to prove that no matter how good a narrator you are, there's only so much you can do with OSHA regulations. If you don't have a good text, only so much you can do. So, no, but I ended up, it came down to a point where my son was too old for daycare. Back
Where
and
did you meet your husband?
I met him at his
Like,
brother's party.
so eyes meet across a crowded room, love at first sight.
No, not
You
at
are
all.
such a grown up. Oh my God, I never knew this about you.
No,
It
it's funny.
explains why you're so successful at just at doing the work, because you're literally a grown up. That's amazing to me. It's wow. Okay, so in a good way, I envy that. I think it's amazing. Okay, so you met your husband,
Mm.
madly in love, not at first sight, but after careful consideration.
3 years.
2 years you dated.
Three, three,
Three years you
three.
dated.
And my mom was like, "Are you going to get married or not? Because I want grandkids." Meow.
And I have a soft spot for your son because he likes me. So,
Oh,
that,
yes.
yeah. So her son is like one of my favorite people on earth. So, okay. Did you
Wasn't going to
miss the job when you left it? Was it hard for you?
It was. I did not realize how much of my identity was wrapped up in what I did, and it was very difficult. For a very brief period of time, I had a really, really clean house for like 2 weeks top. Okay, it was 2 weeks. It was very clean though. Um, and then you realize there's just so much you can clean. You've got to do something else. I was climbing the walls, and so I I tripped across ACX. It was just a weird thing. I tripped across it and I thought, oh, I can do that. Mainly because I didn't know what I didn't know. And and every narrator knows about that. You know what
Yeah.
you don't know what you don't know.
Which is great, because if we did know, nobody would ever
Oh,
try.
no, because you'd be like, I don't want that many learning curves.
Exactly. Or, well, more likely, most people, it would be, oh, well, I can't do it. I won't
Hmm.
make it.
Hmm.
Look at all the competition. I
Hmm.
remember a guy, I was in an acting class and I didn't know about Spotlight. It was like, it's like the UK IMDb or whatever. It's you're
Oh,
nothing. You're not an actor unless you're in Spotlight. And I had all my acting credits were in the US from years ago, but I was like, I'm an actress, you know. So I just thought, oh, Spotlight's the way to go. So I just sign up for Spotlight. So then we go to class that the day I got the message from them saying you're on Spotlight, you know, your agent can send you jobs from Spotlight now. The teacher in our film class was telling this guy, he'd asked the question, don't even bother applying to Spotlight with your level of experience. No way will they take you. You have to have way more experience than that. And this guy's like, an actor. I mean, he's in everything. And I'm
oh my
like,
God.
wow. So after the class, I was like, I just sign up, you know, because I didn't know. I didn't know how hard it was supposed to be. So I just did it. And that I think if we knew, we wouldn't try anything.
That's true.
I think that's a
That's
problem with getting older. You know too much and it's hard to forget it.
uh-huh.
You're right. You don't want to take risks. You don't want to do the things that you know, you can almost barely be bothered to like be excited about going on vacation or losing weight or anything because you know how it's going to end anyway.
Mm.
So, okay, so I digress and I took you off course. Sorry. So go ahead. So you ran into ACX, and what was your first thought? Just sign up and find a
I
book?
thought, how tough can it be? I mean, like everybody, how tough can it be? I will sit at home and I will read books and then I will go about my life and I will make $1,000,000 because that's how it works, right?
So did you have all the equipment, or how did you go about finding out about the studio and all that?
You know, there was, I was fortunate because way back when there was a whole lot less information to sift through. So really, there just weren't so many microphone choices. I ended up with a Rode NT1A.
Yeah, that's what I think that's what I
Yeah,
ended up with too. I just asked a studio guy,
exactly.
you know.
Exactly. I think
Yeah,
I went to Sweetwater and I said, "Here's what I want to do. What do I need?" And he's like, we have this." And
yeah.
they only had like two choices, so it was this or this. I was like,
And
mm,
what do you use? What program? Pro Tools, Adobe,
Studio One,
Studio
Studio One.
One. Okay,
Mainly
okay.
because it came with the interface that I originally bought had Studio One, came free.
So
I've
your
just never.
first book, when you got up to do your first book, were you like, did you find it easy, or were you like, oh my God, I can't talk? I've forgotten how to talk.
Well, the first one I did was this super I don't want to say sleazy, but it was, but yeah, it was kind of sleazy. And it was 12 minutes long, a whopping 12 minutes. And
Because you know what, sorry to interrupt, but you taught me a lesson. Well, I thought about something I'd never thought of before, because we were talking about, I was like, I'm going to tell them like how much everyone loves Lauri. I'm going to do this video and I'm going to like tell them like seriously what this woman's accomplished. And she's like, don't put that in it. Don't put that in it. Don't. And I'm like, okay, can I at least tell them that you started in 2012? She's like, no, because then people will look it up and they'll see my first books. And I never even thought of that. And now I've spent the last night and day going, oh my God, I hope
I know,
nobody ever listens to my,
I
don't listen
know.
to any books past the last three, because you
Exactly.
change. That's what we're meant to do. But
Yeah.
nobody
Yeah.
would. Nobody wants to listen to our books from 10 years ago. And if they're a narrator, they know.
Right.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
The first 10 books are just, you're like, oh, please forget my name. I wish I'd used a pseudo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. 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 I had my first few books professionally edited, but then I tried to teach myself.
oh,
And there were a few in there. Don't get me wrong, I stayed up 8 hours every single night, taking every single breath to I'm so embarrassed when I look back on it.
mm-hmm.
But they're a bit weird because people breathe.
It is weird when people try to take out all the breaths
Yeah.
and you listen to that, because I listen to a lot of audiobooks.
Yeah.
And it's funny is I didn't realize it there was a book I was listening to, and I kept holding my breath all the way through it. He'd get to the end of the paragraph, and I was like, and I was holding my breath. I was breathing when he was breathing. I was that into this story,
Oh,
and then he
wow.
wasn't breathing, and it was stupid. It was really stupid. I thought, who holds their breath?
Yeah.
Breathe.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what it is weird when people don't breathe.
But I love that you listen as well, because I'm an audiobook listener first before I'm a narrator. And I've learned the vast majority of what I do, I've learned from knowing what I like and what I don't like. I don't listen as a narrator. I find it really hard to listen to any books of people I know. I have
Oh,
Diane Perry, and this is just a shout out before I send the apology email. I got her Audible book. It's amazing. She wrote this book about the energy you bring into the booth and
oh
how
yeah.
yours, and it's an amazing book. I think what, 2 years I've been meaning to write a review, but I don't want it to be, I want it to do justice. I don't know what to write. I don't want it to sound, 2 years. So I think listening, you got to do you turn your narrator brain off when you listen, or do you sit and analyze?
Mm-mm. Sometimes I do. Sometimes there are things that are just so obvious. You know right away you're listening to a new narrator or a really good narrator, or you can tell if they're putting on some sort of affectation, and
Now,
that's
where
distracting.
do you have an acting background? Because you gave me notes on a demo that were like the closest to director notes that I've received since becoming a narrator. They were spot on, and they were director notes. They were the kind of notes I would get in theater. Where did you learn how to do that?
Um, I think really just doing it is more than anything. Now, I have taken acting classes. I have taken script analysis classes, and if anybody hasn't done that, that is huge. That was huge for
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I can see
Um,
that's probably where it comes from then.
yeah, I think probably the script analysis. But then when you've listened and you've done it, you can kind of put yourself in the narrator's shoes and you can see and hear where they're at,
Yeah.
vocally what they're doing. And a lot of times it's something that I think, like in your case, I don't even think you realized you were doing it.
I
And
didn't. I'd gotten myself, you had a very good point. Where I was at that moment was, and I challenge anyone to say it's never happened. And for the record, in case any publishers happen to be watching this, I'm not doing it anymore. I did it once and I fixed it. But full authenticity, I was tired. I was doing it. I was working full time, book after book after book,
uh-huh,
and I was tired, and you could hear it.
you
And
hear it.
the minute you pulled me up on it, I was like, yep, that's it. You got to sort your head out. You can't, because you bring that stuff into the booth with you. Okay, so we've got a question. What genres do you narrate, or what genres do you prefer to narrate? That's from Jonathan.
Um, I like, I really like, I don't know, I really like a lot of stuff. That's the thing. I really fall into the Johnny Heller camp of do everything you like.
Yeah.
Um, it's easier for me to say I'm not a huge fan of romance, but I love mystery, thrillers, snarky stuff that's funny. I really like funny, snarky stuff. That's just fun to do, and it's easy for me.
Yeah, I can hear you doing the snarky. I can hear you getting away with the snarky. I like that. I do. So, okay, so are you able to turn that voice off when it comes to your own work, though?
Which voice?
The
The
voice in your
director,
head saying, this line sounded a little like this. This line sounds a little like this.
that is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard to take that hat off, knowing that those pickups are going to be yours and they're waiting for you. Um, but I'll tell you what, I was in an acting class one time and I was going along and I kept stopping and I kept going, am I okay? Is it okay? And he kept going, yeah. Yeah. And finally he was like, "Why are you asking this?" And I said, "Well, because all these mistakes I'm going to have to fix at the end." And he just looked at me and he said, "Who cares?" I realized right then, first of all, I had paid for him to give me acting advice, and I'm sitting in there with my director hat on.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really getting what I needed to be getting. I wasn't getting what I paid for.
Yeah.
And that is something that has always stuck in my mind. And when you have a coach say, "You sound distracted, you sound like you're not engaged," 9 times out of 10, it is because my brain is thinking about the pickups at the end. I'm trying to be word perfect so that I don't have that back end work. And I can't do that. Now, there might be people who can balance that
You
in their
see, I
brain.
never ever give a
Can't.
second thought to pickups. Never,
I
I
can't.
couldn't care less. And to be fair, if a publisher comes back to me with no pickups or 300 pickups, I literally just do them. Like the thought that it was like personal and meant anything about my narrating, I would just think, oh, it's the book.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's like but it's funny, isn't it? Because everyone, and it all comes from something that happened when we were kids. We all have our thing that we're like ashamed to admit. Like I posted excited one day because I'd had a book come back with no pickups. It was a big book,
Oh,
but literally the difference was the writer wrote the way I speak.
yeah.
So it
Mm-hmm.
was instinctual to me. That is literally what it always is.
Mm-hmm.
Or unless, I'm exhausted or something.
Mm-hmm.
But this book was exactly the way I speak. I could like guess what her sentence was going to be before her next sentence. So, and I even checked. I was so shocked. I was like, there's no way I have no pickups. This is a long book. I checked. I ran it through Positron because I didn't
Oh
believe
my God.
it. And then I was really excited and I posted
Really?
and I got like royally my hand slapped.
What?
You're making people feel like if they've had pickups, they're bad and you're shaming other people. I will do another book tomorrow. I've got one waiting in my email. It's going to slap me in the face. Probably because I've opened my big mouth about that book. I'm going to have like 700 pickups on the one waiting in my email. It's part of our job. I think we need to stop being so precious about all that stuff, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if it distracts you from narrating, then you've defeated the whole
Yeah,
purpose of being there.
yeah, yeah.
So
It's what
in
Johnny
everything
Heller
you,
says.
yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing I love, love, love. I still haven't successfully done it. I'm a bit like the Mad Hatter when I try to give myself a day off. Is it
Mm.
okay if I talk about your spa thing and the footsteps thing?
Oh yeah.
It was the coolest thing I've ever heard. And I really want to do it. I think I've been wanting to do it since I was like 9. You're the only
Mm.
one I've ever met that's actually done it. So Lauri set herself up a spa day, right?
I
Whereas
spent a week.
a
It
week,
was a week.
it was a week, and she set it up like she was at a spa, but it was like meditation classes and self-improvement classes and things like that. And she set a schedule up as if she was at like a fancy schmancy spa in Belize. And she would like go to the next class. And then the thing that struck me the most, I don't know how this came up in the same conversation, but then when she wanted to go into the booth, because I was like, God, sometimes I was having a day, the day where you're sitting at your computer and you're like, I have to get up and record now. I have to get up and record now. I really have to get up and then it's like 5 o'clock. You're like, I have to get up and record now. And Lauri was like, I visualize my feet literally walking into the booth.
Mm.
And it works. It sounds kind of daft, but it really works. So how successful first was the spa day? And what did you learn about it? And what made it easier? And what did you find hard about it?
Um, I have a problem. My biggest obstacle probably is consistency. I have a very difficult time. Anytime somebody says schedule, and my brain just builds a filter. Um, but that was probably the hardest part of it was making a schedule and sticking to it. Um, what was great was that I knew this about myself. So within that schedule, nothing went over 30 minutes. And I built in 15 minutes to move, or I built in breaks, or and then the classes I kept to 30 minutes or whatever my class is. And then exercise and things like that. I tried to bring it down to 15s. And doing things in short chunks kind of allowed me to, on the first like 2 days, to find out how this was going to work. What is easy for me to do and what is harder for me to stay committed to. And of course, the things that were harder were the things that you really needed to work on.
Yeah.
So I also tried to build in, there were something, I don't like schedules. Things happen. And then once my schedule is off, my whole day is off. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to sabotage the first time something went wrong. I didn't want the whole week to be a wash. So I would take, if I wanted to listen, say, I had a rich roll podcast I wanted to listen to. I would break that in half because his are very long. And then I would schedule them. I would just put in the schedule, I would put rich roll podcast. And it didn't matter which one I put in there. And I would pencil in, what I wanted to, what I intended to. But if I got in there and something else caught my mind or my attention, then I could switch to that. And there was no guilt. I was trying to build something where there was just no guilt.
Did it work?
Yes.
And
it was brilliant.
Have you kept the benefits?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes, but it's one of the things I've got, lots and lots of years of bad habits that I've practiced for a long time. And a week isn't going to kill that. Much as I'd like to say it, a week isn't going to do it. But I did find things that, like exercise. I had a really hard time getting exercise in. It's just, now I just say, I'm going to do 15 minutes of exercise, and everything counts as long as it was intentional. If I intentionally walk to the mailbox, I'm counting it.
Okay.
It goes towards my 15 minutes because I made my brain shift. And that was really the point of the whole week, was to make my brain shift to seeing even the most mundane things in a positive way.
Oh, I like that.
And so in that respect, I think for the most part, it was a very positive experience.
Yeah.
Do I still have moments where I want to beat my head against the wall? And do I still have times when I have 2 hours of audio and I'm like, no, delete, yes. But now I have better tools.
So the thing about it, and I've got another question from Jonathan, but I want to sneak this one in first. So the thing about it is, the narrators that I've talked to that are long-term narrators, they're not running straight out of the gate, okay? They're not like packing their schedule, competing with everyone else on social media, because like if they don't have as much as everyone else, they're not a narrator. They just keep their head down. And I asked Gildart Jackson that. I said, how, because he's done like 400 books now or something, but it's been over a long time. He started contacting publishers before it was even a thing, when this thing started being a thing, right? And so a very long time. And he said, I'm just a known quantity. I deliver on time. And he's not even on social media, barely. Like, barely on social media, barely does the marketing, branding, doesn't do the look at how many books I've done kind of thing.
Right.
Like, and I'm really, and Helen Lloyd said the same thing. Helen's more on social media, but Helen said that's a jobbing narrator. And I thought of you, you're a jobbing narrator. Like, and that's what I want to be, a long-term, because I get very easily, what are those birds that steal anything shiny? Blue jay? The blue jay, they steal like shiny things. They fill their nest with it. I can't remember the name of them. I think it might be blue jays, but that's me. Like social media, right? I'm there. Join your club, right? I'm there. Be your friend. I'm there. A raven. Oh, a crow. Ooh, I like that. Or a jackdaw. Ravens or crows sound much more chic. But I think it might be. Okay, so long story short, I want to be the girl. I'm never going to keep my head down. That's not me. But I want to be the girl that's just working away. And like I'm 90 and they're like, oh, yeah, that's Daniela. She's probably just recording. And you do it. But how do you resist the pressure from the social media? Because you've been doing it a long time, keeping your head down and staying a narrator. And I envy that. I need to do that because I'll explode at the rate I go. Social media and narrating.
I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it.
It's not smart because all the time you're on social media, you're not narrating, are you?
I am not a fan of social media. I really never have been. It makes me really nervous. So, and not only that, is anything I put out there, a lot of times reflects on my family, and that's a big fear for me. Um, and so no matter what I narrate, I don't have any pseudos, so it's all right there under my name. So I just try to keep my head down. I would hate for somebody to walk up to my mom on the street and go, "Your daughter, do you know what I heard?" Because she would call me and she'd say, "Do you know who stopped me? Really?"
Would it get back to her, do you think?
You know, my mom has ways. She just,
Moms do.
I know,
Moms
right?
do.
She's got that talent. She's psychic. And she lives in a very small town and
Yeah.
everybody knows her. So,
And that is a big deal. And it isn't an invalid. I have one call that we did. I won't even say the name because she hasn't given me permission to make it public still. Because she'd had identity theft. And she said that in fighting it, it basically ruined her life. Yeah, it's good to be smart about it. I mean, it's good to be, do you know what I mean? Yeah.
but I have yet to figure out all the Facebook settings that it just seems to be a moving target for me. Maybe I'm just not smart enough.
No,
But
I'm so glad it
yeah.
wasn't there when I was a teenager because I would have been in trouble.
Mm.
And Jonathan, he's got a good point. And it is true. The thing about it is, Jonathan, is Sean Pratt says it's crucial to be on social media. I think that you have to find your comfort level and your areas of social media and play those to your very best. Gildart doesn't have to because he's an actor that was in like, a ton of sitcoms and he's got what he's done, his strength that serves him well. We all have like our avenue. Like I'm a Facebook girl. I don't really understand Instagram. Every time I send a message on Instagram, I think, have I sent this like publicly? Is it, I don't really understand Instagram and TikTok. TikTok. Okay. I really like doing lives and I will do those someday, but TikTok, see those dances they all do and those things people all laugh at on TikTok. Am I the only one that gets those, that sees those, that like, they're not funny. They're gross.
I'm too old for TikTok. Most of the stuff that I've seen that comes off of TikTok, I'm like, don't you have a job? Don't you have something to do? I mean, I saw one the other day where this woman was videoing herself talking to her husband's phone, trying to, I don't know, make Alexa suggest that she buy her a purse. I don't know. But I was like, what?
That is their job. And the Instagram, I do have to say, I've signed up to all those curvy girl pages where they're like girls that aren't skinny and they show you all their new outfits that people send them and they all look gorgeous and everything. And for a wild moment, I forgot that most of them are 15. So I went and bought all those curvy girl dresses and I got a big curvy girl haul. And it was a bit of a disappointing afternoon. It's not going to be posted anywhere. You can't, but like adults we're adults and we're easily, it manipulates your feelings. What's it
Mhm.
like being 16, 15
Mm.
and
Mm-mm.
trying to like figure out the world? Do you know what I
They need
mean?
more tractors in their life.
Yeah, maybe you can have a tractor in your backyard. Here you go,
Right.
son. Instead
There
of
you
the internet.
go. Right.
Yeah, because I am torn. I think it's like a big party. It's like there's a big party going on and everyone's having so much fun. And it's like a 24-hour kegger. And like if we don't join in, we're missing out. And they're also obviously getting tons of work and really, really rich because they're on
Mhm.
social media talking about it all the time. And
Mhm.
we have to do it too. So we have to go on social media,
Mhm.
right? But you've been a narrator for like 60 years and you're on social media. You found where you like and where you're comfortable. You're in a couple of groups. You're not
Mhm.
like, you're not, you haven't disappeared. You're on social media, right?
Mhm.
Have you found a comfortable spot for yourself, do you think?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I've the thing is, I don't really want to pick up and try to move all my contacts, and um, I'm good with one platform. I know Sean loves, you know, I know he always is telling you to get out there, and I get that.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm not comfortable there. I'm not comfortable on, Twitter. I'm certainly not comfortable on Discord. It gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Well,
Um,
I think they should try it. I think with
yeah.
Sean, he's dealing mostly with narrators that are just starting. And if they
Mhm.
don't go out, they'll be too scared and they'll never go out. Once you go out, you learn,
Mhm. Mhm.
and then you can dump. I think you should try everything, most things
Well,
once.
I see a lot of those people who are really big on social media. A lot of times what they're posting is just kind of canned stuff, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, they're getting their name out there, but, unless you're doing a new book every week and you're, Sean Pratt, you're like, hey, this was awesome,
Yeah.
you know, and you're just pushing out just isms, then, I mean, that's not for me.
Whereas if you're focused on the parts of it that you enjoy, then your joy is going to come through.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think that that's what social media is for me. Is it's I want to post something. If I post anything, I want it to be something meaningful for me. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And oh, I know, Kim, I'm the same. I swear I don't understand Instagram post story reels. I know exactly. Like, what's the difference? They're videos. There's a video here
yeah.
and a video there. I don't understand. I think one of them stays on. See, and Andy Garcia Roos is really good at this stuff. But the thing is, she does it once a month. And
Mhm.
she's like the queen at doing the canned stuff and not making it look canned. Like it
And
always
right.
looks like really like spontaneous and like, but I think if you're good at it and enjoy it, and Sean curates what he does as well. Sean
Yes.
doesn't post every book he does.
Mhm.
Andy Arndt lives it and she's
Oh yeah.
very good at it. And Natalie
Andy
Montes.
Arndt is really, I mean, she is so good at making it a business
Yeah.
and really just has it dialed in. She's impressive.
And she
Really.
makes it seem like she's everyone's, I'm sure she is everyone's friend, but she creates the party and aren't we all having
Yeah.
fun while
She's
she's
so
running a
airy.
business?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's somebody pointed out to me, I don't know why, but somebody said, after all, you're on social media to be in business, to get work, not to make friends. And weirdly, that thought had never occurred to me. And I've been thinking about it for like weeks, going, uh-oh, actually, I was on social media to get friends.
Yeah, I actually wouldn't agree with that. I mean, as far as for me, I'm not on social media to get business.
I don't think I've ever gotten business off social media.
I haven't, well, I have, but it's not, it doesn't happen often, so it's not my go-to.
Oh, I did get a voiceover in sitcom with some famous guy from a friend. So
Ah,
yeah, I need to look that one up if I remember his name. So yeah, it can work. But then the other, you know who intimidate me? You know, the ones that make all, and it's the Discord lot, do this a lot, but I'm not
mhm,
one of them. But they're such good friends that they
mhm,
really, really, really get each other work like constantly. Like they're like, they've got each other's backs, right?
mhm,
I'm
mhm.
really good friends, but not work. I don't think any of my friends are thinking about work.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a couple that I'm actually in a couple of those groups, and yeah, they're impressive, but they've kind of got their own little clique
Yeah.
of, and it's the Discord thing and the gaming angle too. I mean, they've got a real community
And
there,
you
and
have to care about it. You can't pretend. I tried to pretend. I don't like it. I don't like live
yeah,
narrating. It freaks me out because,
you can
like,
hear it if you don't like it.
I don't like it. I sit there and go, is my makeup okay? Like, seriously, this is my work. You really want to listen to this? Do you like live narrating?
Do I? No,
Yeah. No.
no, no.
What do you,
No,
what?
there are too many times when I make a mistake and then I curse and I throw things and I get upset and and then go back to the drawing board and I'm like, wait a minute, who is
Yeah.
this person?
Yeah.
I've got too much drama in between actual narrating. So
Yeah.
I don't know how they must prepare. I couldn't go up
Jonathan,
there. Yeah,
yeah, Jonathan says he finds improv intimidating.
yeah.
So, so yeah, but I'd say still try Discord, but if you're
Hmm.
not liking improv, but we've all got our things. Because you turned me on to singing. But the thing is, I think that's the thing I admire about you the most. The way your mind goes from the side to the point. You see all sides of things and you approach everything from a different angle. So you don't just approach everything from the way you're supposed to approach it, that media's told you to approach it, that we all just look at it, this is the way it is. You look at, and singing was like a game changer. And I
It
never would have
was.
thought of it.
Hmm.
Has it changed? Now that you've been doing it for a
Yes,
long time, what changes have you noticed?
I have got so many more tools. And I think when you narrate, or when I narrate, I have a tendency to, um, my throat gets lazy. My vocal cords get lazy. I use the same ones, and I find myself kind of getting into a vocal rut. I either get into a vocal rut or I'm like punching every third or fourth word. So, but when I get into that vocal rut, that was something that was the reason why I went to and started with singing, because I wanted to do something different with my voice. I've got this tool, but I'm only using a very small part of it. And I wanted to be able to use the head voice and that's what I found when I started working with Kaylee Beth. She's wonderful. I love her to death.
She's coming on Joe, by the way. You got to
Ooh,
be
that
on
I
that call and we'll
love
just sing
her.
her praises the whole time.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
But I just told her, I said, here's what happens. And then I get really grindy, like a vocal fry.
Mm.
And I do that anyway. And then it just gets worse. And I said, I want to be able to emote and I want to get out of this rut and I want to use everything. And she was just, she was brilliant. She said, okay, I will help you. And so much of what we did really didn't have anything to do with singing, but it was really laying the foundation for it. And, what we do here in narrating is so close. I mean, we're still using our voice, but it's
Mm.
not the same. And I forgot about, because I'm not a singer, and I haven't had any kind of singing class since sixth grade. I have just, I discovered tools that I just didn't know, didn't remember.
And
And
range as well.
and ranges, yeah,
Yeah, because
really
before
just
meeting Kaylee, if I'd gotten chased by a psycho killer, I couldn't scream. Like I would just be killed. like talking
Not.
quietly. Like,
Right
she's
here, a little to the
amazing.
left.
But she taught me that to do this. She said, you're a visual person,
Yes.
do this. And if you do this, your voice, well, I've never even
Mhm.
thought of that. The woman
Exactly.
is a genius.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
much of that too. And she told me one time, she says, I've got several of you narrators now. And she goes, you're all really visual. She goes, is that just a thing in your industry? And I said, I really think it is a thing. I mean, you kind of have to be, you have to be able to imagine,
Yeah.
your script and what's happening. And
And
so,
we,
yeah, I
we
think
were readers.
all visual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if
Yeah.
you're not, you do it for 10 years and you will be.
No, I'm still paying a horrible monthly fee to an online course. And
Mm.
Lisa pointed out to me, oh, I see why they caught you, because you're visual and all the
Uh,
colors were bright and flashing. And I
mhm.
signed up and now I can't get out of it. And plus, they're all really weird, witchy kind of people. And I'm afraid they'll like put a spell on me.
Daniela,
I'm
you are a
scared.
raven.
Huh?
You're a raven. Just like the
Yeah.
shiny stuff.
Yeah. For my sins, I'm going in debt on that stupid thing I can't get out of. Okay, so you approach things from the side. I love the way you pull in tools, you pull in classes, you identify the problem and you find what you need, and then you put your head down and you work consistently and you found what works for you. I'm trying to have conversations in these calls now, less centered on what to do to get started, because I think everyone after
Mm.
111 calls are pretty well trained in what to do to get started. I want us to maybe move that conversation to what to do to stay forever.
Mhm.
Do you know what I
Uh,
mean?
yeah, I think that that's something that we don't talk enough about.
Yeah,
Uh, is the mental side of this. There's so much to learn when you start doing this, aside from acting. Um, but we don't really talk about enough, I don't think,
yeah,
about the tools that we need to handle those times when we just have crushing depression, or that one stupid review from 2 years ago has suddenly decided to rear its ugly head and destroy our confidence.
yeah. And it's
It's crazy.
hanging on. The trick
It
is hanging
does.
on. We're all focused. I think everyone thinks about success. How do I get there? And
Mhm.
nobody ever thinks about how do I stay there? Because we're already there and it doesn't feel like we are to any of us, no matter where we get. We
True.
don't know we're there. So we're always thinking we're going to get there. And we never, ever, ever
Mhm.
think about how to stay there when you get depressed or the one review hits, or
Mhm.
except don't read your reviews and you won't mind. I'm happy as anything.
But,
All my reviews in
you
my
know,
head are fabulous.
the thing is, you can do that. You can avoid that, but there's gonna come at some point, there's gonna come,
Someone's going
like
to be
I
mean to
had,
you.
yeah, I mean, or you're gonna have, when somebody tries to give you constructive criticism, you're not gonna be
Yeah,
able to hear it that way.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so that's the thing about coaching. You really have to be able to put aside the the listening and the insecurity and the listening for things that are wrong with you, and let them help you improve your delivery, your acting. But sometimes that's that imposter syndrome, or that self-confidence or lack of, keeps you from moving forward. And
yeah.
your listeners can hear that in your voice. That's what's really bad, is that you can fake it, but a lot of times you can't. Listeners can hear that if you're not confident, if you don't know they can hear if you're not confident.
I think that is the biggest challenge.
Mm.
Nobody ever tells you about. I thought the biggest challenge was paying the mortgage without knowing when your next job was going to be booked. The biggest challenge is having all the feelings that you get being a freelancer and like living on the edge, and then still showing up in the booth and managing those feelings like a boss.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, there's not like one trick, and there's not one thing that works for everybody.
And it won't work all the time
Right.
for
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah. You
And
have
no
to
matter
have,
how much you get it down pat, you're going to have a bad day.
yeah. It's really comes down to the tools you have. And that's what I've kind of spent all of this year and half of last, really just saying, okay, you know what? My narration is not going to get any better until I do something for me here. And,
Yeah.
it took me a long time to get to the point to realize that everything I touched or I felt like I opened my mouth and everything that came out was bad. And you can't have a business like that. You can't narrate anything with that mindset.
But also the feeling that you were feeling that place, because I think if I remember correctly, I think I knew you during that time.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And when you expressed that, everyone that knew you, well, everyone, I mean me, everyone that knew you were like, you're absolutely crazy. Do you even hear yourself? You don't know what you're talking about. But it doesn't matter, because if that's where
Yeah.
you feel you are,
Yeah.
that's where you are, because you
Mm-hmm.
only have your brain. That's the only place you get to live.
Mm-hmm.
So Kim has a question. Do you have a particular character that you enjoyed being?
Um, I don't have a particular character. Um, no, not really. I like being the one that pays.
So do you feel business wise, do you ever like cry for the characters in the book or get really emotionally involved, or are you
Isn't that
approaching
what
it as an
prep is?
actor? Huh?
Isn't that what prep is?
Yeah. Really? So do you feel all the feelings in prep and more than while recording?
Hmm.
Wow.
I do. I find that in prep, I do the laughing, I do the crying, I, you know, um, I internalize everything. And then when you get in the booth, you have to take a step back and yet feel
I'm
all
the
the.
op I'm the opposite. I'm the opposite. I protect myself from getting involved at all while I'm prepping. I
Mhm.
like literally skim over the emotional bits.
I used to do that, and I found that I needed to feel it. And so that when I was in the booth, I wasn't overwhelmed.
Ah,
So I needed to let that in and normalize it and then make my notes. And then when you get in the booth, you're like, okay, I hear you. I know where you're at, but I can't cry with you right now.
you're making me
So,
think. I won't say what it is, but you're making me think of my upcoming book. I looked at the reviews, you guys, and one of the reviews was, "This is the most upsetting book I've ever read in my life." I'm so excited.
I know,
It's
right?
like,
Isn't that crazy how that excites us?
yeah, like, ah, because it's a challenge. It's like people are all these reviews. I had nightmares for weeks. I had to stop for a day. I couldn't keep reading. It's upset me so much, and I had to finish it, and I'm so upset. And I love it, love it. Um, okay, so oh yeah, but this isn't a question, but a good one. Won't read the whole thing, but nothing in the world from Burke. Nothing in the world can take the place of persistence. Calvin Coolidge. Um,
Mhm.
Oh yeah, Daniela and her murder fetish. There was a question from, thank you, Lisa. You know me. There was a question from earlier. I don't want to miss. You thought I forgot you, Jonathan. I suspect the answer is going to be everyone, because Lauri's been around so long. I'm going to ask this one last question, and then I have a final question for you. Time flies when you're having fun. Jonathan wants to know, who coached you? Everyone, huh?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
you've gone
I've
to,
had a lot of different coaches. Yeah.
yeah,
And I cannot say enough about the coaches that we have in this industry.
yeah,
They are amazing people in their own right. And the working coaches, they
yeah.
get you. They get you.
And
So,
they're
and there are a
genuinely
few that
care.
yeah, and there are a
Yeah,
few that are just standout, you know, individuals anyway.
yeah.
So it's hard to
You,
go, but I will say, going from coach to coach, I have found that, like most people, there are coaches that are, it isn't which one's better, it's which one resonates with you.
Yeah. Do you have a reason when you go to a coach? I find that makes such a difference. Having something you're looking for specifically. Or do you just go to a coach because you feel that you need to be shaken up?
No, I don't ever do that because they all shake me up. Uh, no, I think that when I go to a coach, usually it's just for this is what I've been working on. How close am I and how much closer can I get? I just had a session like that, and 5 minutes after the session, I'm a mess. I'm like, I'm just going to stop because I'm horrible. And then, I internalize what they're really saying. And I have to go back and remind myself that not only did I pay for this and I asked for this, but I just got some great information to use.
Yeah, and you have to take their advice from where they're coming from, not from where you're coming from.
But
because
I will say,
if you want your own advice, you don't have to pay them.
yeah, I got tons of advice. But I used to go from coach to coach to coach, and my biggest problem was my self-confidence. And every single one of them told me the same thing. You're not engaged with the text. You're not engaged with the text. I even had one, well, more than one, say, all I can hear is your lack of confidence. Just tell the story. And I will say, if you're going to the coach and you are expecting to hear something from them, something specific, in my case, I wasn't listening to what they were telling me because I was listening for this other thing. And I think that when you go to a coach, you need to ask yourself that very question, why am I going? What do I need help with?
Because I think some people go to coaches because they want someone to tell them whether they're good enough or not. And it's not that simple. And you do have a comment, and then I'm gonna read this one. This is from a quite well-known prolific writer. Regarding those reviews, remember it's the author whose book you're narrating whose opinion matters the most. If they're delighted with the results, pat yourself on the back. And that's from Linda Mooney, who you've worked for. You're one of Linda's narrators. And she's like, if you ever get a chance to work with Linda Mooney, you guys, best writer on earth to work with. The woman's just
fabulous.
Yeah, amazing. And she does like 7,000 books a year. All really good quality books. Like each book is like a writer that this is my only book. I don't know how she does it. Okay, Lauri, for our YouTube audience that's going to be watching this in 60 years, if you had a capsule, thank you, Kim, if we were going to bury a time capsule in the backyard of the school, and in 60 years our YouTube audience was going to dig it up, and you were going to leave them with one thing, a funny joke, a final word of advice, how you would want them to remember you, what would you like to say to our YouTube audience?
So many things. Where do I start? I think probably the biggest thing is you can't take yourself too seriously. It's all, this too shall pass. And what you do with the moment you have is way more valuable than the things you wished you had done and didn't do.
Yeah.
So don't take yourself too seriously and just go do it. Do it all. Don't do anything half.
Ride a tractor in circles.
That's right. You got to do all the circles.
That's going on my bucket list.
That'll last for like 4 minutes. You'll be like, okay, I'm good.
At least I can say I've done it.
It's You really haven't experienced it until it's like 110 degrees, and the only air conditioner you have is the water cooler that's above you, that when you turn the corner and the air blows all that chaff right back at you, it drips on you.
Is it dry heat or humid heat?
It doesn't matter. It's 110.
See, because California, we would get 113 all summer and I loved it. The UK, you get above 50 degrees and I hate you.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Humidity is like a nightmare. Texas is dry, isn't it?
No. Well,
No?
some parts of it is. I mean, we're a big state, but you go to Houston and it's where Linda Mooney is, it's ridiculously humid.
Okay,
But
I
they're
have
right there by the
another,
coast.
I have a really important question that I need to end the call with, and I don't want to leave it. Do you have a pair of real honest to God cowboy boots?
I do have a pair of honest to God cowboy boots.
Really? Will you send me a picture someday? I'm
Uh,
so envious of real cowboy
they're
boots. I've always
suede.
wanted.
I didn't actually use them on the farm because I would get them dirty and they were too expensive.
I want to see them. I'm so envious. I'm going to have to ask Linda if she has a pair of cowboy boots.
She might have some real ones. Mine are black suede, so
Seriously. Like, and you know how to ride a horse, don't you?
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
See, very cool. Very
See, I'm
cool.
probably the only person in the world who has no desire to ever have chickens because I've had chickens.
Yeah, we grew up with chickens in the suburbs. The neighbors loved my father. Their budgies are better.
Any smart bird has got to be better.
It's been a pure joy. I cannot believe the time went so fast. Thank you so much, Lauri. This has been fabulous. We're going to have to get you on here again. It took me long enough to convince you to come on this time. So I'll start working on you for 6 months from now. It's been fabulous. I hope you have a wonderful evening and thank you so much for joining us. And thank you, everyone else. Thank you to the studio audience. Bye,
Thank you.
guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.